Three girls watching TV shows, and some of it's good and some of it blows. And when we finish the movies, yeah, we need a scotch, and we turn to each other and say, what did we just watch? And we're live.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
It's been a while.
We're back.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back. And we're better than ever.
True.
One of us is fully moved. The other two are kind of moving soon.
Yeah.
Big things are happening.
Big things coming for us. Yeah, there's a new change of scenery for Emily.
Exposed brick.
It looks so
Yes,
good, though.
We moved. We are all settled in, and it's lovely. Very happy.
Yay.
I finished my first year of grad school. So it's been good.
Yeah. I'm watching Bad Girls Club.
Woo!
That's my accomplishment.
Woo!
It's the finale. So things are getting a little crazy. But we're a little low energy today.
I know. What's wrong with us?
We all did have I didn't have a full work day. I guess only Emily had a full work day.
I didn't have a full work day.
Yeah, I get. That's what I was gonna say. We usually do these on the weekend. It's Monday, so
I did sleep side by side with Walt, and my dad did come in and was like, "What's going on?" We were both kind of sleeping in the same position because he was like this, and I was like, "There's a lot."
That's so nice.
Cute.
Yeah, he's gonna be devastated when I leave.
Are you leaving him there for a month?
I'm coming back to visit him, but yeah, he is going to be with them.
All by his lonesome.
Well, he has 3 other people. He won't be alone. He'll be with other people, and Donovan will be there.
He's gonna forget you.
Yeah, I know.
He won't forget you.
He'll forget you.
He'll forget me, or he'll be really upset when I come to visit him. He's like, "Oh, fancy seeing you here. What happened?"
He'll just be mad for a day, and then he'll get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. So we've been inspired because if you're not on TikTok, Olivia Rodrigo has been putting out a lot of songs for a while. And if you've heard the song Driver's License, which was her first single that she dropped, it got really popular. It blew up, and it's a great song. So if you haven't listened to it, I would go listen. How old is Olivia? 19, 18, younger?
I think she's younger, right? Okay. I just assumed she was 16 or 17 because she wrote about getting her driver's license. But I guess not everybody gets their driver's license.
She's 18. 16. She just turned 18 in February.
18 years old. Yeah, so No, what were you saying?
No, I was going to say because only the actress that played Gina, and that we'll tell you what we're watching. The only actress that played Gina is the only one that's actually the right age for the show.
She was close though. She's 18 now.
Yeah. Well, EJ, the guy who plays EJ is our age. He's 22, 23. I think Joshua Bassett is 19, 20-ish.
Okay. I mean, 20. Yeah, 19, I'm okay, you can play high schooler, but anything above that. I was gonna say how refreshing it is that some of the people in the show are actually high school age, but I guess not all of them.
But they look more high school age than many casts. Okay, we're watching High School Musical, the series, by the way. We're on season 1. We know season 2 has come out. The first episode has come out, but Emily hasn't seen any of it. And she texted about Olivia Rodrigo's. Well, we were going about her music. Driver's License came out. Another song she put out called Deja Vu, also very good. Go listen to it. And then she just put out a song called Good For You, but it has a 4 instead of FOR, the number. Also very good. Would recommend. So all of her songs have been bangers. She's releasing an album soon. And they all have like blown up on TikTok. So Emily like texted about like Olivia Rodrigo. And so I think we were like, we should watch High School Musical, because I like, when that came out in quarantine last year, Kiana and I had seen it when it came out because we were just curious. And then Olivia Rodrigo blew up after that. So that was like my association. Yeah. But a lot of people like, I feel like most people like either watched it first like we did, or saw her blow up and realized she was on the show and then watched the show. So
yeah, similar to Ariana Grande and Victorious, you know.
True.
Like
true.
I had never seen the show, but I like vaguely knew about it, and that like she was on it, and then I just like listened to that one song this morning, and I was like, oh, this is really good. And I was like, I feel like I'm too old. Like I know she's like the star of like Gen Z, but
never too old.
I thought it was a good song, and then we decided to make the leap into watching the show.
High School Musical, the musical series.
High School Musical, the
it's
musical
good. I would
series.
Recommend it.
I would recommend it too. It's on Disney Plus, and we'll dive in. So if you're like, the first episode doesn't really give any spoilers. It's more just like context. So we watched the pilot episode. So I feel like this is a good diving off point if you haven't seen it yet and you're like feeling a little skeptical. I know like I was like, what is this High School Musical spinoff? But it's actually like really good. I think they did it in a really tasteful way. So I will share the notes. So we start off and you see East High, which is where High School Musical took place. That was the high school. And you like see all the hustle and bustle of kids all around. And then you pan over, there's a teacher in her car sitting and watching the old High School Musical at the very end of the movie, where they're like singing "We're All in This Together," and then it starts buffering. And then that's kind of when the show begins, like on her phone, and she gets out of her car and she's like walking into East High. So that's where the whole show starts. So it sets up that we're going to be at East High, but clearly like we don't know anyone here because I don't recognize the teacher. And we cut to two characters, two boys. One's named Ricky, and he's like the main guy. And then another one's like a ginger. His name's Big Red. And so Ricky is like wondering what a text meant from this girl named Nini, who Olivia Rodrigo plays. Her character is named Nini. And he's like, I just got this text from her. I'm not really sure what it means. What do you think it means? And Big Red's like, I don't really know. Text from women could mean anything. Like, I don't really have any advice to share for you. And they're in school, like walking around. And so Ricky's pondering because all she said was, hey. There was like no period, no question mark, like no nothing. It just said, hey. And like she wanted to meet him and talk. And he didn't think it was a serious text. They hadn't seen each other all summer. It's kind of like Grease vibes where they like come back to school and like encounter each other. So that's setting up the scene for like a little worried on Ricky's end. And then it cuts to Nini, who's Olivia Rodrigo, and her friend Courtney, who are chatting about the summer, which had just happened, which is why she hadn't seen Ricky for a month. And they kind of give us some context for like what happened between Ricky and Nini. And so basically Nini went to this like summer theater camp for a month, and Ricky told Nini he wanted a break. They were dating. But while she was there on their break, she met someone else in the production of Music Man, and they were both like stars together when the understudy got sick. And so Nini and Ricky convene at the locker finally after all the tension, and basically she just tells him that I met someone else at camp while we were on a break, and like I'm gonna be with this guy, like sorry. And Ricky's all pissed off because he's like, wait, what the heck, we were on a break. But Nini was like, sorry dude, like I don't know what to tell you, like this is what happened over the summer.
Now it's a break up.
Now it's a break up. She did say that. And it kind of gives us a little cut, a flashback to before the summer break. They're vibing in Nini's bedroom on her bed, laughing, chilling. And then they're just shooting the shit. And Nini's like, check your Instagram. So Ricky opens up his phone and hops onto Instagram. And Nini posted this like very emotional ballad talking about all the amazing times they've had with each other, and basically confessing her love for him through this Instagram post. And he watches the whole song. They're like sitting together. She's looking at him like in anticipation. And at the end, he's just like, oh. And then it cuts back to school. And so we kind of get some context for like, okay, they must have taken a break. Right before they took a break, Nini confesses her love and he says, oh. So we're getting some clues to maybe why she was looking for other options at summer camp. And then it cuts, the bell rings, they all rush to an assembly. The vibes are very quiet. No one's really wanting to be there. And the principal's talking about all the updates about East High. And then he says, okay, we're going to introduce a new teacher. We have a new teacher at school. It's a drama teacher. Her name's Miss Jen. And so she comes up to introduce herself, the new drama teacher. She whips out a t-shirt cannon and shoots it into the crowd. And the crowd is not hype about, like usually crowds get really hype about t-shirt cannons. The high school was not hype about it at all. They sat in silence, and then the t-shirt from the t-shirt cannon whacked a kid in the face, and he was just like, ouch, really solemnly. And that did not sway her. So she gets up to the mic. She announces that she's like the new drama teacher. She's going to be, she was shocked to hear that in all the years at East High, they'd never done a production of High School Musical, given that's where like it was filmed, like that's where it was performed. And so she said, like, we're going to be doing High School Musical as our production this year. And in the crowd, like in the audience, like Nini and all the other people like in drama are like looking around and they're like, ooh. And she introduces the student choreographer, Carlos, who's going to be helping her like do the production. And the bell rings, the assembly's over. We meet the STEM teacher named Mr. Mazzara, and he's all skeptical about the arts and like Miss Jen. And he's just like, I think kids should be doing like real enriching activities and not the arts. So bad vibes from him for sure. And we also cut to Miss Jen in her office after that. She's chatting with her mom. She's like, Mom, please float me another car payment. The principal says, I'm not going to get paid for a couple weeks. I feel you, Miss Jen. I'm there with you. So we kind of get some insight that she's like financially in trouble, but she has this new job. And then we see Mr. Mazzara in the gym still. Carlos is like practicing. The student choreographer, he's practicing. And Mr. Mazzara is like, you should be in class. And so he goes into Miss Jen's office to tell her that if you have a student, like your little assistant, like you need to give them a hall pass. And Miss Jen is just like, okay. And she's kind of startled. She spills her coffee on herself. And then Mr. Mazzara is just kind of being a douche and like telling her that it's a really professional learning environment. And like, you know, like she was like, is this a prison? Like, why are there so many rules still? And so he was just being really uptight. So we're getting to know him a little bit more. And then we cut to lunchtime. We see like everyone in the cafeteria where they had the iconic status quo shot. And Courtney, who's Nini's friend, Nini, and the camp boyfriend who she met named EJ are chatting about auditions and talking about like what they might want to do. And EJ is convinced he wants to try out for Troy, and he like is trying to amp up Nini to audition for Gabriella, but she's like a little hesitant because she has always been in the choir. Like they mentioned, like she like had all these like stupid like nonsensical roles in the past, or they didn't really mean anything. So for her to like audition for a lead role would be a really big deal. But eventually EJ's like, we can dress up in costume, like we can go together, it'll be fun, like you can do it, I believe in you. So she's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And we also get a little bit more insight about EJ, like who EJ is, and he's like dapping it up with all his bros in the cafeteria and like chatting with everyone, and so we can tell he's like really popular. And in the corner of the lunchroom, Big Red and Ricky are like fuming, and Ricky's, well, not Big Red, but Greg doesn't care, but Ricky's like fuming.
Like, whatever.
Yeah. And he's just like, wow, like we find out he's the captain of the water polo team, and he's like a really big deal. And Ricky's like upset that he's, you know, Nini's not falling at her feet for him, even though he was shitty to her. So we've come to the consensus that Nini and EJ are going to audition for Troy and Gabriella. And so after school, we have two different scenes where Nini visits her grandma and they're like playing cards together, and she confides in her grandma about having these like nightmares about how she's like alone on a stage singing, and she's nervous to audition and to be Gabriella, and her grandma like hypes her up and she's like, you deserve to like do well, you like deserve good things, like why don't you think you deserve good things, you can do it. So Nini feels a little bit more affirmed, and it's just a sweet moment. And then her mothers come in because Nini has two gay moms, we stan, and so we get to see like her parents. Yeah, the two gay moms. We love to see it. And so we see her family a little bit. Then it cuts to Ricky's house, and Ricky's with his dad vibing. And his dad's all frustrated because he couldn't get this Instant Pot to work and the chicken's all frozen. Just a sidebar, the dad puts an entire frozen chicken into the Instant Pot with no seasoning, no nothing, and he's like wondering why it's not cooking. And Ricky's kind of just like, dude, just like call mom. So we get an idea, okay, it's Ricky, his dad, and his mom. And then his dad's like, no, we can't call mom. Basically, we get a little bit of insight that their marriage is crumbling, and they won't be calling mom anytime soon. And she's in Chicago and she needs space. And Ricky's a little jarred by that because it's kind of out of the blue. One moment they're making frozen Instant Pot chicken, and the next minute the parents' marriage is falling apart. Yeah, it's a really abrupt shift. So after that, like overwhelming moment, Ricky's checking his phone and he sees this post that's like a picture of Nini and EJ, and it says Troy and points to EJ and Gabriella and it points to Nini. And he's looking at that and he's all like motivated. He's like, I'm gonna audition for this. Like, I'm gonna do this. So we can infer that he's gonna audition for Troy, probably to distract himself from his parents' impending divorce, but also probably motivated because of Nini and him and their strained relationship. After we get all that like background knowledge, it's audition time. It's crazy. Everyone's like in the dressing room getting ready. Like you see like people just like running around all over the place. And eventually Miss Jen's like, okay, it's time for auditions. Warm-ups are starting. And they all go to the stage, and you see like this crazy, like Carlos, the student choreographer, is having these people do this like crazy complicated and elaborate routine. And like the first group of people is going, and Nini and EJ are on the sidelines and they're like watching in awe as they like all are doing these insane moves. And we kind of like pan over and we see like one girl in the front like killing it. And her name's Gina, and we'll talk more about her in a second. And after the warm-ups, they like are like, what the heck, that was a warm-up, because Carlos is like, warm-ups are over, and they're like, what the heck. They're about to do a different part of the audition, and Nini introduces herself to Gina because they're supposed to pair up with someone that they don't know. And so Gina like talks about how like she moved there from a different state, and she's like a sophomore, and she's like very, very confident and basically ready to knock it out. She's auditioning for Gabriella, and obviously that's going to intimidate Nini because we just like watched her do this insane choreography routine, and she's older, and like she's like, I've never been an understudy before. Like she's coming off very strong and very intimidating. So after we meet Gina, it pans to Ricky in the computer lab watching High School Musical to study up for Troy, and the computer's breaking, the bell rings, he needs to get to the auditions because he's late, and the computer freezes with the DVD the DVD, for whatever reason, even though it's set in modern times, but regardless, the DVD is stuck in the computer, so the same thing keeps looping. And then Mr. Mazzara, the skeptical STEM teacher, is all pissed off because his computer's broken. So now we have the timeline context of like auditions are currently going on, like we just had the Gina scene. So we know Ricky's wanting to audition for Troy. We know he's running late. After they're like choosing roles, they're all like lined up in a stage, and Mrs. Jen and Carlos are walking down the line, and they're all like choosing roles for what they want to do. And EJ says Troy. Gina, who's like the super confident girl she just met, also says Gabriella. And then they get to Nini and they say, what do they say for Nini? What was her?
Said, you look like Kelsey. A Kelsey.
A Kelsey, yeah, that's what it was. Like, you look like a Kelsey.
Like, dang, not even Taylor?
I know.
You like a Kelsey.
Yeah, she didn't want a Kelsey.
No.
We love Kelsey.
Kelsey's like, but like Taylor, like Gabriella's name Taylor's like co-main and Kelsey is supporting.
Right,
so it's
exactly.
Like way different.
Yeah, for sure. And so she kind of has to like buck up and like get over her nerves and her fears about always being like a tree or like talking to Gina or like the fact that she was like a star in the summer play. And so she's like, nope, I want to be Gabriella. So she asserts herself. Good for Nini. And they move on with auditions and they do the Troys because I guess they're all like auditioning like one character at a time. So they start with the Troys. And EJ sings, her camp boyfriend, EJ, the polo captain guy. He auditions as Troy. He has a really good audition. He's all dressed up in costume. They talk about like how popular he is, like Carlos and Miss Jen, because they're the ones judging the auditions. And then she's like, we're all done with Troy's. And keep in your mind that Ricky is still in the computer lab trying to fix the computer with Mr. Mazzara. And so he's missing the Troy auditions. That's important to remember. So then they transition to the Gabriella auditions and Gina goes, and obviously she has a banger of an audition because she's Gina. We wouldn't expect anything less from her. And so again, we're cutting back to Ricky. Ricky basically tells Mr. Mazzara, sorry, dude, I gotta go. Like, I got places to be. So he's like struggling to fix his computer, but Ricky like gives up and he's like running out of the auditorium to like make his audition, even though he's already late, but he doesn't know that. And so now Nini's about to audition. She's super nervous. We just saw Gina like have an insane performance and EJ's all hyping her up. And he's like, you got this, like, you're amazing, like, believe in yourself. And then he just like casually tosses it. He's like, this is why I love you. And then she's like taken aback because as you remember from earlier with Ricky, she has a little bit of PTSD. We cut back to another flashback of right after Ricky played her I Love You song that she posted on Instagram, and he just was like, oh. And it's just he says oh after he watches the video. He basically says, let's just take a temporary pause. And she's obviously taken back and confused. He's like, I'll text you later. She's just stunned because she doesn't really know what to say because she just said she loved someone and they were just like, oh, let's take a break while you're gone for a month. And he leaves. So we cut back to present time. Nini's right about to go on to Gabriella. And then, of course, who stumbles into the auditions but Ricky, of course. And so Ricky bursts in. There's chaos happening. Miss Jen's basically like, sorry, dude, like, we're done with Troy's, but you could read for Chad. Sounds good. And he's like, but I really only like study Troy. She's like, sorry, we're done with those. And then in the midst of all the chaos, Miss Jen, like, she's like going back to the Gabriella auditions. She spills her coffee on like the light board and all the lights go out in the auditorium while Nini's up right about to audition. And she's like, oh, I don't want to like deter you, Nini, from like having an audition. We can wait till the lights come back on. But Nini's like, fuck no, like, I'm going to take this opportunity. And so she sings all this power ballad, Start of Something New, which was like all the audition songs, basically. And Ricky's standing there really awkwardly while Nini's singing in the dark. Also, just a little note that like all the students were huddled on the stage right in front of you as you auditioned, and it was like a little intimidating. So it's dark. All the students are huddled there. Yeah. Ricky's being really awkward and standing near the front, and he like gets his phone flashlight on because the lights are off, and he starts like shining it on Nini. And then EJ, like, because they're men, so EJ feels the need to like also get his phone flashlight out and shine it on Nini. And so Nini has a bomb audition, obviously. She's like in her own world where she's like on a stage, like in the Gabriella costume, just like singing her little heart out. She comes back down to earth, lights go on, and her audition's over. And then they move on to Ricky's audition where he's auditioning for Chad. And even though he studied for Troy, he's like reading off his script. He has a pretty intense monologue moment with his script. And then she's like, okay, it's time for you to sing. And he whips out his guitar and he has the nerve to sing the I Love You song that Nini wrote for him that he rejected at the audition. So he sings the whole song and Nini is like watching
Everyone's
him.
Like this?
Yeah, they're all huddled there. So Nini's like front row next to EJ with his arm around her. She's like watching him sing the I Love You song that she wrote and performed for him. You can tell she's pissed. He finished his audition and he did well. Like, he did a good job. And so auditions are over. They're all like streaming out, and Nene like catches Ricky and she's like, the fuck was that? Like, what are you trying to play here? Why are you here? You've never liked musicals. During The Greatest Showman, you were like, this isn't realistic. Like, you've never wanted to be in a musical. Why are you here in my space? He's like, no, that wasn't me. Like, I've always liked musicals. I've always thought they were good. And she's like, but like, that's not true. And while they're kind of going back and forth with each other, like literally 2 minutes after auditions finish, they're like, the cast list is posted. And so they all like scuttle over to see who got on the cast list. And Nene gets Gabriella. We see Gina, who's like the really good, confident dancer, get like taken aback. And then EJ says, I'm Chad. Like, I got cast as Chad. So we know EJ's not the lead. Come on, we all knew this was going here. Ricky walks up, Big Red actually walks up and he's like, dude, what the heck? You like did it. And Ricky got Troy. So that's where the first episode ends. And yeah, it obviously is going to lead to a lot of conflict given Nene and Ricky's relationship. So
I'm excited.
That's our recap.
Yeah, like for the rest of the series, Ricky's like, dang, I kind of don't want to be in this musical. And we're like,
why did you do it, Ricky?
Why did you audition so that you like don't want to be in it? Like throughout, he's like, dang, like this kind of sucks. And I'm like,
literally the whole time.
What do you think was gonna happen?
Oh my gosh. I haven't seen it yet, but I could have guessed that that's where it would go.
Also, before we talk about it, Emily, do you want spoilers? Or are you like wanting to save?
I mean, I will definitely watch it, but it's okay.
Okay.
Like, I would have guessed what you just said. So.
Right, okay. That makes sense.
I mean, like, nothing too crazy happens. Like, it's weird because, like, Emily, this is a spoiler, but it's okay. You know, but, like, if you've seen the trailer for season 2, you kind of know what's going on, what happened after in the season 1. But eventually, like, Nene and EJ break up because, like, EJ just, like, goes crazy for, like, 2 episodes. And you're like, jealous. What happened?
He's jealous of Ricky, right?
Yeah, and then
he steals Ricky's phone. Yeah, he takes Ricky's.
He like, and then like, it's just like weird. Like this episode, the first episode, he seems like charming. You're like, oh, he's like kind of normal. Anytime Nene has a problem, he's like, you got this, girl. Like you can do this. Like he's kind of like a nice hype man. But then like an episode later, he's like insane, and you're like, what's happening? What happened?
Yeah, they like certainly have you rooting for him for the first few episodes, and then like he really just switches, and then like all this other stuff comes up that he's like done and like been shady about, and you're like, wait, what? Yeah. So I have to root for Ricky now? I don't like Ricky, so I don't really want to root for him as a character.
Like Ricky kind of gets better because you feel so bad for him. Like everything that's happened, like the divorce that his parents go through is like so brutal. Bad. His dad is like does not know how to like talk to him about it. He's like in this first episode, he's like, yeah, your mom. He like yells at him like, your mom doesn't want to come home, and he's like, okay, that's a little weird. And then when they're getting divorced, he's like, oh yeah, we're separating. I'm sorry, dude. And you're like, what? Like, can you please talk to your child? And then, oh my God, Emily, in the last episode, the mom brings her boyfriend to Chicago to the musical after Ricky's like, I do not want to see your new significant other. And she's like, this is a great time to introduce my new boyfriend to my child who like really hated the divorce, is really having a tough time. And he sees them together. He's like,
they're making out. They're making out during one of the songs.
In the theater?
In the theater.
It was his song. He was singing.
Ma'am.
He's like, because he's like in like one of those like things that they lift you up in the air because he's like shooting a basket. So he's like up in the air. Yeah, it was Get Your Head in the Game. He's up in the air about to like shoot a basket, and he's like, you can obviously see the whole crowd because you're like really high up, and he sees his mom macking with her new boyfriend, and he's like, the hell? And so he has like a breakdown. As he should. I would have been shook by that. He basically like quits midway through the play because he's like so like taken aback by like seeing his mom making out with her new boyfriend at the crowd, and then he eventually finishes the show, so it's fine. But it's just wild. Like Ricky goes through so much bunk. Like it's a mess.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like the reason why he's like really bad at love is definitely because his parents relationship. Like it's definitely because of that. He really needs to go to therapy, but it's just like wild what his mom does. Like his dad is like bad at telling him bad news, but like he's a decent dad. Like he tries to be there. He goes through a massive depression, and you like see it happen.
I was about to say that. Yeah, like because the house starts to get dirty and shit, and like he doesn't really care, and Ricky's like, okay.
He sleeps on the couch and like just eats like the dad does. Ricky's like, please go to work. Like you need to do something with your life. And the mom is just like vibing with her Chicago boyfriend. Like she just like does not.
That all sounds very bad.
She also does not even try to like relate to Ricky. She's like, I think you should really just like adjust to this new life we're having. And he's just like,
where you live with your dad who's incapable of making a chicken.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh,
like
no.
It's a mess because she also like she's not like the dad is like a recurring character. Also, sidebar, I just remembered the dad goes on a date with Miss Jen, which is weird, the drama teacher.
Anyways, how many episodes are in this season?
They're like jam-packed. I don't remember. I think it's like 10. Yeah. But the mom's like not a recurring character where the dad is, but she like makes a couple appearances, and like the one like she comes back I think after one of the first episodes, like earlier in the season, and he's like, so what's gonna happen? She's like, I'm packing up my stuff and I'm leaving. Like she's very like cold about it, and he's like,
yeah,
okay, like
yeah,
why can we try to work this out? And she's like, nope, I'll be leaving now. And he's like, oh, okay, good. That's great.
She barely even looks at Ricky. She barely says like, sorry that you have to go through this, hon. She's just like, I will be going back to Chicago because I have my Chicago boyfriend and we will be living together. Like it's just like weird.
It's like, so weird. But that's honestly, it's the only reason I root for Ricky, because he still like kind of sucks, but you just feel bad for him because he's just going through it.
Yeah, he's like going through it. And then the only person he really, because like in this episode, he's like, the only person I really ask for advice is Nene. Even though Nene does not give good advice.
Also, like, get a therapist, bro. Like, talk to a friend. Like, stop relying on Nene for your emotional labor. She lets it happen, but like, I don't know. Anyways, he does like run off. They should not be together. And we need to let Emily talk about her impressions, but I have to say one more thing that I felt cheated out of when I watched this series. They had like a moment where like EJ and Nene were broken up, and then Ricky was obviously like not with Nene, and Gina, like we get to see a soft side of Gina, and she's like living in like a stressful situation. Like she's living with just her mom, and they're like trying to make ends meet, so their house isn't like fancy or great, and she's like working really hard to like have a good life, and she's embarrassed of like where she's living and stuff, and she was really kind and like listens to Ricky and is just like a really good friend, and they're forming like a really great friendship that's developing. And then all of a sudden Ricky's just like, I'll be dumping like this entire connection that we have because Nene wants me back now. It's so fucked up. It makes me so mad.
It's gonna be a recurring theme for season 2, because the first episode of season 2, Gina's just like heart eyes Ricky like the whole entire time they're like together. She's always like, wow. And I'm like, oh no.
They were better together. They both were better people. And then he just like randomly is like, yeah, I'm just not into this anymore. I love you, Nene. And we're like, wait, what? Not them getting together. Yeah. I just felt cheated. Even if they weren't like a romantic thing, like they still had a really good like friendship with each other. And he still threw both of those things. Like he wasn't able to keep either of those things. He's like, I'll be just ditching both of those now because Nene loves me again.
It's like, Ricky, you actually can be friends with a woman. In case you didn't know. Like, it's okay to do that. You're allowed.
It's because throughout the first half of the series, Gina's portrayed as like the Sharpay, like mean girl.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, did she get cast as Sharpay or something?
No, she got
the
cast
understudy.
as Taylor. She got cast as Taylor, and she's the understudy of Gabriella. Okay. Sharpay is played by a gay man who eventually gets together with Carlos.
That's right. They did talk about that.
Cute.
But yeah, so Gina's like, because in the first couple of episodes, she's like plotting, trying to take Nene down because she wants to be Gabriella. So she's with EJ being like, whispering like, hey, you should do this or you should do that. And he's like, yeah, I should steal Nene's phone to check her messages. And she's like, yeah, you should. And doesn't stop him for doing
Gina.
Yeah. Well, she just wanted it so bad. I don't know.
And then like her and Ricky start having a thing. Nene's like, what's going on over there? Ricky, remember when she like tried to ruin my life? And he's like, she's actually a nice girl. She's a nice girl. Her mom works a lot and always is out of town. Like, you should give her the benefit of the doubt. And then he's like, she's horrible. So, and that's like a whole thing for the second half. But then by the end of it, you're like, out of all the characters, I like Courtney, which is his best friend, the black character. You know, they have to have a black best friend. And then Gina. Like Nene's character, I'm like, I do not care for her.
I don't care for her either. There's just like, not like, no shade to Olivia, but like Nene's character just becomes so like unlikable, and so does Ricky's. So it's like the main couple they're focusing all the energy on just sucks. And so I'm like really vibing with like Gina, and then they have the girl who was like, they're like, oh, you could look like a Miss Darbus, like their drama teacher. She's great, and Big Red's funny. Like they have all the other supporting characters are so fun, and then it's just,
it's because they're so messy, and they bring everyone else into the mess, and you're like, guys,
we don't need this.
You're 17 years old, like calm down.
It's very dramatic.
Okay, Emily,
but in a way that I like unexpectedly very much enjoyed. At least for
it's good. It's
first
good.
40-minute episode. Like I feel like the very beginning I was like overwhelmed. I was like, this is too much for me. And then like 5 minutes in, I was like, I'm here now. We're good. I'm into it. So
yeah,
I'll definitely watch the rest at some point, I think.
Did you have
any?
I
think the.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, did you have any outstanding thoughts that you were thinking about when you watched the show as a first-time viewer?
I am excited to see where Miss Jen's storyline goes. She overwhelmed me the most, but I'm ready.
And she'll continue to do that.
Okay, good.
I was texting
She will also continue cross boundaries of like her relationship with her
I literally like, because you know how she mentioned in the first episode how she was a background dancer in High School Musical or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's this whole like plot line where like she had a line in one of the parts of the movie about like an apple in the cafeteria, and she was like all happy about it and it was perfect. And then when she went to the screening, they cut her line out and she like felt worthless and blah, blah, blah. So basically she's like working through her trauma of getting her apple line cut out of the movie by having these children perform High School Musical. And then in the second season, spoiler alert, you can fast forward like 15 seconds from now because I'm going to spoil the first episode of the second season. But in the second season, she meets like an old high school boyfriend who like went to Broadway while she like got stuck being a teacher. And he's like now directing at a rival school and like is directing like play written by a certain person. And there's like competitive awards. So she switches the fucking musical, the spring musical, from High School Musical 2 to like be in the category written by like that specific composer so they can enter the same awards as her old high school boyfriend. I'm like, Queen, stop using these children. Stop using these children to process your trauma. She just doesn't have any semblance of boundaries.
Yeah, she really does not. She also like in that same episode, that the kid, it was New Year's Eve, and the kids invited her, I guess, to their New Year's Eve party, and she shows up, and I'm like, Miss Jen, you don't have like adult friends to hang out with, and not like 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. And no, she does not.
Nothing.
She can't even call Ricky's dad, I guess, to be like, hey, Ricky's dad, you want to hang out with New Year's Eve? I know he had no plan.
Yeah. Literally wild.
Yeah. Emma was texting me about it because she was like, drama teachers like that? I'm like, yeah, drama teachers are a little bit like, I'm thinking about my drama teacher. Like, they know way too much about like their kids' personal lives, like the students that they're under that teach than like most. Like, I'm sure my teacher knew more about me than like my math teacher or like my science teacher, because we just talk, and then she would hear, because it's not like you could turn off your ears, and she would just like comment, and we would be like, yeah, you'll know everything about me, like, because you're just standing right there. It was just like the relationship drama teachers have, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I would never invite her to like a party though. Like, that's
yeah, that's a step too far. Like, that's not.
I feel like if one of us didn't have a party and invited her, she would come.
Yeah, that's so weird to me. Like, I find that so weird when teachers do that. You know how like when you like become professors, like when you're in college, like the lines become a little bit more blurred with like, oh, I'm gonna get a beer with my professor, like they're gonna take us to dinner. Like, I feel like those things are like okay when you're older, like you're all adults, you're like getting a beer maybe once, maybe like every week, every month, you know, like that's a little like, I don't know, that feels fine to me. But in college, like one of the music department people would like go to parties, like text people in like orchestra, like it was just weird vibes for me. I just like it always wasn't vibes. It was always like weird to me, but other people were like, oh, he's just like chill. So I'm like, maybe I'm like being weird, but like I've just never had like a director or like any like arts program or like teacher be like, I'll be part of this too. It just like felt weird. And like maybe I'm reading too much into it because everyone else thought it was normal, but I was like, sits weird with me. I feel like it'd be even weirder if you were in high school, like younger, a minor, where they're like, I'm also part of this. Like, no, like you don't need to be part of this too.
Yeah, I mean, at sometimes when she would be like, I'm also a part of this, everyone would be like, no.
No one ever shuts Miss Jen down. That's like what's unrealistic.
No.
They just like let Miss Jen happen. They're like, okay.
They're like,
yeah, season 2, they just shut Miss Jen down. That's like her storyline. And they're just like,
Miss Jen, this has become too much for us.
Yeah, like an intervention.
Not ready.
They should, because Miss Jen has her own crap going on. She burnt down the theater.
Excuse me?
She's also a klutz. I forgot
how did so much happen? There's only 9 more episodes that I haven't watched. What do you mean?
A lot happens.
A lot happens.
The STEM teacher. The STEM teacher is like weird. I
hate him so far.
Okay, yeah, yes, he's like, but he grows on you.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he's not like so anti like art. It's just that he's like, there's also a lot you can do in STEM, and kids don't really like focus on STEM and like there needs to be a balance or something. But I'm like, you could also just not be like shutting down kids' activities.
Like there's totally a balance in the other direction in like real school. Like
I agree.
Way more of a focus on science and math than like
not in East High.
But also, okay, maybe it's an East High thing. But I was wondering, was like, maybe I'm just out of touch with like the times, but like, what is a STEM teacher? Like, does he teach science, technology, engineering, and math? Aren't those different subjects that different people should teach?
Those are just like something. We have a STEM teacher at our school, and it's basically like, yeah, what you said. So they'll either do like science-based projects, but mostly it's like maybe they'll do like programming or engineering or like,
okay,
like maker space where you're like building something and like making something out of nothing. So it's like pretty flexible, but you're just like trying to engage kids in like different kind of STEM centered activities. But that's like at the elementary level. So I'm not really sure what that would look like for like a high school.
I guess that's what I was saying. I was like, obviously they have like science and math teachers, but like maybe this is like outside, like extra.
Maybe it's like a robotics thing too.
Which like is cool. Yeah.
My high school had like it's called Project Lead the Way, but it was basically like an engineering course that some kids took and like learned all about like coding, engineering, and then they would go to conferences, do competitions and stuff, and like build robots and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that's what his job was. But yeah, he's very annoying because you're like, dude, just like calm down. But you have to have like an opposite to Mrs. Jen's
I'm
craziness.
sure there's plenty of kids that are interested in your STEM things. Like, it doesn't have to be this kid. It doesn't have to be Olivia Rodrigo.
You're not interested. You're not interested.
But yeah, he's supposed to be basically just play the opposite role of Miss Jen. Like, Miss Jen is like kooky and crazy and like wants serious.
To live. It's like Bert and Ernie, literally.
Yeah, I think they were trying to put them together, and then she went on a date with the dad, and then I'm like, are they not putting her together?
I think they're gonna put them together in season 2. I see it in our future.
Honestly, I kind of like it.
I like it too.
Make them loosen up,
and maybe he'll make her be less flighty and save her money and think about her future.
Maybe he will be like, hey, you heard of boundaries? Because you need to have them with your kids.
Yeah, maybe he should just teach her a lesson on like being a teacher, like going to the children's New Year's Eve parties. But
all the children are also coupled up at this New Year's Eve party, so they were all making out, and Miss Jen was like, hey guys, how's it going? We're also doing a new show. Like, she had to tell them on New Year's Eve what show they were doing instead of just like...
She could have easily texted Carlos, and Carlos would have told the whole party. Yeah. That would have still been weird, but less weird than her rolling up to the New Year's party. No, it's a really good show, though. I feel like, because they have, like, music in it, too. It's not, like, as High School Musical-y, because there's, like, a lot more just plot happening, but they do have, like, a lot of good songs and stuff. And, like, one of the songs... Like, I'm pretty sure either that I Love You song, there's a couple other that Olivia sang by herself. I'm pretty sure she wrote those on her own, which is pretty cool. That's cool. She, like, shows off some of her songwriting, which is cool. But I think it's a good show. I think a lot of people go in really skeptical because given, like, what the series was. But I think they did a really good job with, like, making it its own thing.
Yeah, they for the songs as well, it's not just, like, all High School Musical songs. And each character has their own, like, moment to shine. So it's not, like, just Nene and Ricky just singing all the time. Like, our friend, what is her friend's name?
Courtney?
Courtney sings a song. I think Ashlyn, which is the girl who plays Miss Darvis, has her really good power ballad. And I think she's one of the best singers on the show. And then she sings for, like, one song, and you're like, I want more, please. And they're like, no.
Please, more.
Blown away. She is so good. Courtney was too. But
Act 2 is, they needed it in the real movie.
Yeah, they should have. It's such a good song.
But yeah.
Do we have other thoughts? Should we rate it?
Oh, I have one thought. When Miss Jen and Carlos put the list on that really raggedy list, it was like on like
scrawled
green paper.
Well, maybe if they took an extra 5 minutes to like type it and print it out, but no, they had to do it immediately.
Other directors wait to put the cast list out, but when you know, you know. That's what Miss Jen said.
When you know, you know.
No, it's instinct.
It's all up here. Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, you could have literally, like, what if you couldn't read her handwriting? You're like, who's, like, Troy? Like, I don't know. I've never, like, okay, wait, maybe I have an equivalent. Our band director would post, like, who got first chair, like, the chair list on the board, and we'd all, like, wait anxious. So I do have an equivalent. But she would never write it down. That would be insane. We'd be like, damn, bitch.
Yeah, I had to read a cast list before. It was awful. I don't know why.
Did you audition?
Email us.
Yeah, why did it always have to get posted on the wall? Like, why was that a thing?
Like email.
And you would just like wait. You would have to like go to like the random hallway it was gonna be in and like check like.
And then people had to be like, "Oh my god, did you hear the cast list is out?" And then you had to be like, "Oh god," and then like dread the whole day to like.
Yeah. And people would like huddle and talk shit. They'd be like looking at like who got first. And luckily, I was so good. I always got first, but for those of us who aren't that good, I'm sorry.
Proud of you.
But people would like talk shit. They'd be like, "Oh, he moved down like 3 chairs." Like they'd all be huddled around the list.
Ooh, 3 chairs though?
Yeah, shit would be crazy. I loved when that shit happened because I never moved, so I would just like watch the drama unfold, and I'd be like, oh my god, she beat her, she lost. But I would never. That's not true. I probably would talk shit, but
you playing your clarinet like ooh.
At least not in front of the cast list and pointing the
I might have. I'm not better. I'm not gonna say I'm better than that. I don't remember, but I feel like I'm not.
I talk all my like theater crap like in physics because my physics class my teacher had no control over like me and my friends, so we would just like talk about theater because that's what I was really involved, or like backstage where we would just like do it in weird places, and my friend would just like tell me all the drama because the first 2 years of high school I was not a part of theater, but I had theater with like new people in theater. And this is also when I dated my theater boyfriend and saw him in Footloose.
Shout out. I'm not going to say his name because then I'd have to bleep it again, and that'd be so annoying.
And then junior and senior years when I moved to theater, but I was a techie in junior year. In senior year, I played a wood nymph.
Oh, I didn't know that. In what production?
Narnia.
Okay.
But it was the worst Narnia, but it was actually the worst way I've ever been. I gotta be honest.
Wow.
Like, and I auditioned. I don't know. I don't remember the monologue that I had to read, but I know I was not very good. I feel like if I did it now, I would know how to like monologue a little better. But I didn't really practice. I was like, oh, it'll be fine. Like I could get like an ensemble part, and my ensemble part was witness, and we had no lines. We just stood behind things like trees and did like and just stare. And I'm like, there's like no point of to be on stage. And she's like, no, you're doing a good job. Just stare and look confused, like in wonder, because you're like. And I was like, okay.
One of us is staying suspiciously silent about their long and weighty theater career, and I think it's time for her to speak up.
Never forget my most prized role, which was the dumb blonde sorority girl in Legally Blonde. I did not get to play Elle Woods, but I did get to play Margot of Delta Nu. It was very exciting. I had to buy the same outfit, but in white, because there's like the whole Greek chorus element for anyone who's familiar with Legally Blonde, the musical. So like I got to play the dumb sorority girl as herself in the beginning of the musical when Elle Woods is at UCLA, but then when Elle Woods goes to Harvard and she has like fever dreams, I guess, of her old sorority friends. And so we had to come out in our same outfits, but in all white, because we were supposed to be this like dream-like Greek chorus, and we would just like sing a song and do the bend and snap. It was very fun. I enjoyed myself.
I thought you were going to say Mrs. Potts was your most prized role.
No, I didn't play Mrs. Potts. I wanted to play Mrs. Potts, and I got cast as a fork.
Oh, yeah.
That was not my most prized role. Yeah, middle school was rough. 7th grade, I was like, I got a call back for Miss Potts. So, okay, here's my beef with the middle school musical productions at Norwell Middle School. Shout out.
I'm going to tag them in the caption.
They were directed by the gym teacher, and I don't agree with her process, because she would decide like who was going to be cast as what, but she would basically like decide that 2 different people, like one of these 2 people would be cast as this role. So it was like you either got that one role that she had in mind for you, or if like the other person got it, you would get nothing. So there was no like degrees to it. So like I almost was Miss Potts, but then someone else got Miss Potts, so I was a spoon or a fork. I can't remember. Maybe it changed every night. We all just like put on whatever was there.
What?
And then we did Seussical the musical the next year, and I almost got I don't remember, but it was like the bird with a good song. I don't remember her name.
I'm not familiar enough with Seussical to help you out there.
Me neither. Maisie, I don't know. Anyways, I almost got that and then I didn't. And so I had to like make up my own role because it was middle school. So like nobody got cut, but like there weren't enough parts. And so they were like, just do whatever. And I like had to look through, we all had to like look through the Dr. Seuss books and like pick a random character from like a Dr. Seuss book. Some kind of insect I don't remember.
Not you looking through the primary documents to try and find a role.
Sometimes
that's what they made us do. They were like, you just gotta figure it out for yourself. And we were like, okay.
Excuse me?
But wow. My redemption was Legally Blonde in high school.
Was that the only other like musical production you did?
I think so. Because that was like my junior year, I think.
I have a picture of you and I don't think you mentioned the role yet.
My high school did not do like musicals mostly because the director, like the theater person, like didn't like them. So like he only did it when he was forced to. So he would do these like somber, like one act plays with like 3 characters all of the other times. So
interesting.
Like, yeah. I'm trying to remember. Maybe we did one more and I'm just like totally blanking out, but I'm not thinking of it right now.
Yeah, we loved musicals at Nance's River. We only did musicals, and the only time we didn't do a musical was Narnia, and half the usual people who showed up did not show up. So that's also why I didn't get cut and was in Woodman. And like there was like 5 other ensembles. So you know when there's the big fight scene, I was also reused for everything. So I was a wooden nymph for most of the play, and then you know when Aslan comes back to life and he's like
turning spoilers. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
He's turning all the like people that was to stone, the witch turned to stone, like back to life. So he like brings them back to life. I was one of those people, so I had to be like, and then like and then the next scene I was fighting on the witch's side, so I had to get beat up and like die. There was not enough people, so I had to play so many roles.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. My only like theater adjacent story is that I went to go see my crush in The Hobbit and he was a tree.
Aww.
No, what was he? I think he was a tree. We did Into the Woods one year. That was actually pretty good. Actually, I don't know. To me, it was good. It could have been bad, but it was good to high school me.
I feel like most high schoolers are like critical of like high school plays. So I feel like if you thought it was good, it was probably like decent.
Probably all right, yeah.
Yeah. So
I've been through some horrible plays in high school, and I was like, "This is horrible. I can't believe I'm watching this."
So the leads of that one are, one of them went to major in, both of them majored in theater at like good schools for theater afterwards. And one of them is like in New York now, and she's like freelancing and she's like killing it. And then the other one was just in the Saved by the Bell show, like the new one. And so they're pretty good, I'm assuming. So I'm like, it probably was good. Like they were the leads, they were really good. And then like a couple other cast members like all also went into theater like in college. So I'm like, they're probably all really good. But I remember The Hobbit being bad, but I remember whatever the other play, Into the Woods, was good. They also did Bye Bye Birdie. That was good too.
I was also in Bye Bye Birdie in middle school.
Oh, were you?
I didn't even talk about my first middle school before we moved.
Oh,
that was a whole cast of musical events. There was Bye Bye Birdie, there was Grease, there was Annie.
I forgot you were Annie.
Oh my gosh. I
Annie,
forgot.
That was my other shining
I was about to say,
was when I was in
there's
Annie.
There's a little picture of you in like pigtails and you're like singing your heart out on the stage.
Annie. I was the orphan that goes, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness,
oh my goodness,"
and that was every line started with "oh my goodness."
Speaking of Annie, when I was in elementary school, they always would put on, like, the highest grade they had in elementary school was like 6th grade, and they had something called the 6th grade play, which was like where they would put on a play. I don't know why I had to explain the play that you would do in sixth grade, but it would just be like the sixth graders doing the play, and you would have to all, like the rest of the school would have to go watch the play each year. And I was so hyped. I was like, I can't wait to audition for this play. Like they did Annie. I remember they did Annie, and I remember it was good. Again, that was probably bad. And lo and behold, sixth grade comes around, and guess what? That's the first year they decide to stop doing the freaking play. And instead we did like a showcase. It was called, I think it was a fifth grade play, actually, now that I'm thinking it. It was fifth grade for sure. Because it's called the fifth grade showcase. And we all had to learn choreography to We're All in This Together. And we also learned choreography to like that song from Grease that's like, we go together.
Bye,
oh yeah.
And then we like each class had like a different song, and then there was a song about igneous rocks, and they'd go the cycle, the earth rock cycle. Like each class had a different song. And ours was, we took those like long tubes, you know, those like things called boom whackers, and you like hit it on the floor and it makes
oh my goodness, yes.
And we like performed like Hall of the Mountain King with the boot. It sounded like shit. It had to sound like shit. There's no way that could have sounded good. But we did perform that. But I was just always crushed because it was my dream to be in the fifth grade play, and it got stolen from me.
Sad.
Snatched right under my nose.
I hated showcases the most, like talent shows, because I'm like, you have to sit through it, and like some people are just like bad, but you like give them props because they're like, oh, they like